So may I invite Sister Grace to give us a brief introduction of what is the new creation story and why we need a new story of creation.
So, good morning, everyone.
Good
Good
morning.
morning, sister.
It is good to see you all back for today's session to listen to the second part of the news story as revealed by Science Today. But before we move on to the second phase of the evolutionary journey of the Word through whom all things came into being, let us recall what was shared at the last session. The creation stories and myths of how the earth came into being, told to us from our cultural and religious traditions, they no longer speak to modern men and women. They no longer can give the meaning, the direction, as they did to the pre-scientific and technological generations. These creation stories and myths, they tell us the who and the why of creation. But today, scientists are able to tell us the when, the what, and the how of creation. So we need both the faith and the science communities to give us the full story of the universe. For it has been said, faith without science lacks power to convince. And science without faith lacks wisdom. Science alone without faith, that's why we have the creation of all the destructive weapons, or the creation of science. But without wisdom, it brings about inventions that are destructive to the environment, destructive to human life, and also the lives of other creatures. Why is it important for humanity to know this complete story? So last week I was trying to play the video by Brian Swim, who's a scientist and a mathematician. And he, together with Father Thomas Berry, a Catholic priest, right, both together, they wrote the universe story, which is so much needed today. So after this, we will listen to Brian Swim, just a little, about 3 to 4 minutes, to tell us why we need the news story. And then after that, Father Kurt will introduce the second phase of creation, which is the creation of life on earth. Okay, so now, Father Kurt, can you play the video by Brian Swim?
Okay, Sister. Thank you, Sister.
Thank you.
Cosmic story is a way in which we orient ourselves in the world. The fact is that humans require this. I mean, butterflies don't have a cosmic story that they talk about. It's actually built into their DNA. Wolves, whales, all of them know what they're doing because it's part of their genetic inheritance. We require stories that are expressed in our culture so we can find our way forward. They really enable us to know what's important to do, what's important to avoid, who are we, what are we about here. They situate us in the world in a way that gives us a fundamental meaning and an orientation and direction. We live right in between stories. We're in that chasm between a story that used to function, and we're in that moment before the new story has really begun to function effectively. So the stories of the past we regard as important, and we pay a lot of respect to them, but we know that they don't actually give us a careful, accurate depiction of the universe. We've surpassed that level of knowledge that we had at that time. So even though we know that they're no longer really functioning as cosmic stories, we try to squeeze psychological insights out of them and so forth. And they are important, without question. But we need a new story. We need a story that actually comes out of what we know about the universe. That's our moment where we're done with a certain phase of our existence, and we're in that exciting moment of entering into a new way of being human, which requires a new story, a new account of what it means to be human. One way to understand the last 400 years of modern science is that this was humanity's way of arriving at a new understanding of the universe, but it's an understanding that's rooted in empirical, observational detail. It's not coming from any particular scriptures, it's not coming from any particular group of elders. It's coming from a careful examination of the universe and of life and of Earth and of humanity. Now, all of that knowledge has been growing and developing. It was only in the last few decades that it all entered into a coherent story. We saw that, this is actually about the birth of the universe and the development of life. It's all fitting together now, so that really our way forward is to begin to live in a way that is coherent with our actual knowledge of the universe. Our way forward is to actually live in the universe we know about. It's as simple as that. It is to live within life, the life that we know about, so that we have discovered more about life in the last 100 years than the entire history of humanity put together. In the last 100 years, what we discovered about in biology and in geology and in ecology and astronomy, all of this surpasses all of the knowledge in the history of humanity. And we haven't yet learned to live within that knowledge. We regard it as beside the point. It's not really relevant to our personal lives. So our way forward is to learn that this new knowledge, this new story, actually enables us to see who we are, and to see where we are, and to see what it is we are to do as a species, as individuals, as nations, as corporations. It provides a fundamental pathway into a future of vibrant life.
Okay, so that's the brief introduction by Brian Swim on the new story of creation. Sister Grace earlier explained to us why we need a new story of creation. In our own faith tradition, Jesus also used a lot of stories and parables. Our parents and grandparents tell us stories, and indigenous peoples never forget to tell stories also. So, stories are important to us as humans. So, that is why we are going to hear the new story of creation. So, the new story of creation is actually a story of stories. We began with the story of the universe, how the universe was created. We entered into the story of the earth, and later on, we will continue on with the story of life and the story of humans, our own story. So, briefly, the story of the universe is a story of energy and matter. The origin of the universe is the origin of everything. So, in this short video clip, it will show us how the universe began. So, please watch closely and just enjoy the video.
The universe is everything, from the tiniest particles to the largest galaxies to the very existence of space, time, and life. But how did it all begin? The origin of the universe is the origin of everything. Multiple scientific theories, plus creation myths from around the world, have tried to explain its mysterious genesis. However, the most widely accepted explanation is the Big Bang Theory. The Big Bang Theory states that the universe began as a hot and infinitely dense point. Only a few millimeters wide, it was similar to a supercharged black hole. About 13.7 billion years ago, this tiny singularity violently exploded. And it is from this explosion, this bang, that all matter, energy, space, and time were created. What happened next were two major stages of the universe's evolution. Called the radiation and matter eras, they're defined by key events that helped shape the universe. First came the radiation era, named for the dominance of radiation right after the Big Bang. This era is made of smaller stages, called epochs, that occurred within the universe's first tens of thousands of years. The earliest is the Planck epoch. No matter existed in the universe at this time, only energy and the ancestor to the four forces of nature, the superforce. At the end of this stage, however, a key event occurred in which gravity split away from the superforce. Next came the Grand Unification epoch, named for the three remaining unified forces of nature. This epoch ended when one of those forces, called strong or strong nuclear, broke away. Then, the inflationary epoch began, during which the universe rapidly expanded. Almost instantly, it grew from the size of an atom to the size of a grapefruit. The universe at this time was piping hot, and it churned with electrons, quarks, and other particles. Then came the electroweak epoch, when the last two forces, electromagnetic and weak, finally split off. During the next stage, the quark epoch, all of the universe's ingredients were present. However, the universe was still too hot and dense for subatomic particles to form. Then, in the hadron epoch, the universe cooled down enough for quarks to bind together and form protons and neutrons. In the lepton and nuclear epochs, the radiation era's last two stages, the protons and neutrons underwent a significant change. They fused and created nuclei, and in doing so, they created the first chemical element in the universe, helium. The universe's new ability to form elements, the building blocks of matter, cued the matter era. Much as the name suggests, the matter era is defined by the presence and predominance of matter in the universe. It features three epochs that span billions of years, the vast majority of the universe's lifespan, and includes the present day. The first was the atomic epoch. In this stage, the universe's temperature cooled down enough for electrons to attach to nuclei for the first time. Called recombination, this process helped create the universe's second element, hydrogen. This hydrogen, along with helium atoms, dotted the universe with atomic clouds. Within the clouds, small pockets of gas may have had enough gravity to cause atoms to collect. These clusters of atoms, formed during the galactic epoch, became the seedlings of galaxies. Nestled inside those galaxies, stars began to form. And in doing so, they cued the latest and current stage of the universe's development, the stellar epoch. The formation of stars then caused a tremendous ripple effect and helped shape the universe as we know it. Heat within the stars caused the conversion of helium and hydrogen into almost all the remaining elements in the universe. In turn, those elements became the building blocks for planets, moons, life, everything we see today. This ecosystem of everything was only possible because of the many stages in the universe's development. While countless questions about the origins of our universe remain, it's only a matter of time for some long-sought answers to emerge.
So briefly, that is the story of the origin of the universe. So 13.7 billion years ago, our universe was created, and questions still up to now have to be answered. And by 12.5 billion years ago, our solar system was created, and that includes the Earth. Sorry, 10 billion years ago. So by 4.5 or 4.5 billion years ago, our solar system was created, including the Earth. And that solar system included other planets, no? Not only the Earth. And from there, we move on to the story of life, life on Earth. The story of life on Earth began when water or the oceans started to appear. And the oceans appeared around 3.5 billion years ago. That is when water from the atmosphere returned to the earth, forming the oceans. Now, the oceans at that time were full of the element carbon, and carbon is a major source of food for these organisms we call the prokaryotes. The prokaryotes in turn form oxygen in the atmosphere, and that created the ozone layer. But for these organisms, the prokaryotes, oxygen is poison to them. So many of them could not survive in an oxygen rich environment. And because of that, the first evolution started when prokaryotes came together to make a new kind of organism that we call eukaryotes. So eukaryotes can actually breathe oxygen, and it's their source of food. And eukaryotes is the origin of the word Eucharist, or the union or communion. So here we take a word from science and use it in our liturgical uh, ceremonies. Now, many years after uh, evolution continues, and changes in the environment and in the surface of the earth are major factors as to how organisms evolve, as we will see in this short clip.
Extreme climate changes continued, putting life on a path to new evolutional stages for survival. Life evolved with prokaryotes and eukaryotes living together as ever larger symbiotic organisms, compensating for each other's shortcomings and thriving as a whole. This greatly expanded the possibilities for forms of life. Life forms grew to 1 million times the size of eukaryotes and 1 trillion times the size of prokaryotes. The appearance of multicellular life was a critical leap for evolution.
So as the earth gradually became more habitable, no, more suitable for living life, we will see how evolution continues.
Algae was the first life form to transition out of the water onto the challenging land environment. This is why algae evolved before animals did. When insects appeared, they co-evolved together with plants. Appearing during the Cambrian explosion, fish were the first of the vertebrates, animals with backbones. Fish are the oldest vertebrate ancestors of us humans. As fish continued to evolve, Ichthyostega appeared, the ancestor of amphibians. Plants flourished, producing free oxygen through photosynthesis, providing the atmosphere with 1.5 times as much oxygen as it has today. Long after, the remains of these plants would become sedimentary coal. That coal would help fuel the remarkable breakthroughs for human civilization that started with the Industrial Revolution. Vertebrates equipped with lungs appeared and made their way onto land. The tree of life evolved, branching from fish to amphibians to reptiles and then dinosaurs and mammals, and eventually to humans. This guy hasn't found out about all that just yet.
So evolution is the process where a simple organism is transformed or developed into more complex organisms. As you can see in the illustration, life began as a single cell prokaryote, moving on to the eukaryotes, and then it slowly evolved into sponges and fungi. And by the time of the Cambrian explosion, here we find a great number of different species evolved. And from there started the evolution to tetrapods, insects, and amphibians, which are the ancestors of reptiles, dinosaurs. And from there, the birds and mammals came. And slowly we enter into the evolution of the primates, which are the ancestors of Homo sapiens, or our own species. In this timeline, you will see that there are also major extinctions, extinctions where species die out or no longer exist. So the last major extinction was in the period Cretaceous period, which is known as the fifth extinction event. So extinctions happen because of major climate changes, natural climate changes. But as of the moment, we are entering into what scientists call as the sixth mass extinction. But this mass extinction is no longer just caused by natural events, but mostly caused by humans, by our own actions. So we move on now to the story of humanity, the emergence of humans. So humans began to appear by this time. So let us watch this short clip. The Humanozoic Aeon, the birth of human beings.
About 4.5 billion years have passed since the birth of the Earth. Large fluctuations in terrestrial environments have occurred repeatedly, a never-ending cycle of life and death. Finally, human beings appeared. This was the onset of the Humanozoic Aeon. Humans have a unique set of genetic regions called human accelerated regions, or HARs, and these regions differentiate humans from other animals. Humans developed enlarged brains that enabled them to gain language capabilities. They also gained the abilities to think, to be conscious, to remember, and to imagine. The brain volume of human beings has discontinuously increased in 3 stages. The growth of brain volume seems to be synchronized with large-scale volcanic eruptions. This indicates that the increase in brain volume is caused by stem evolution, driven by high R magma. About 1,200,000 years ago, humans started moving out of the African continent. The last common female ancestor who left the African continent 200,000 years ago is called mitochondrial Eve. Descendants of mitochondrial Eve entered North America and Central America 15,000 years ago. 10,000 years ago, further descendants reached the southern tip of South America. They had spread all over the world. Since then, an epical advance of human civilization has taken place.
If you notice in the video, migration plays a lot in the role of the spread of humans all over the world. And today, migration continues. So because of the migration, human civilizations also develop. As you will see here, there will be 4 to 5 revolutions caused by humans.
Humans invented agriculture and livestock production. With these methods, a stable food supply became possible. Human populations increased rapidly. Various occupational specializations arose. People began to barter and trade. To enable effective bartering, cities formed. With time, small cities developed into small city states, with currencies, economies, laws, courts, and police. Finally, the four great civilizations of the world appeared along large rivers, where food productivity is higher than in other regions. Conflicts and fighting over territory occurred between civilizations. To avoid fighting, religions spread to replace governance by royal families entrenched through inheritance. With time, national leaders came to be elected by voters. Modern democratic nations appeared. Democracy is a social form that grants freedom, equality, and basic human rights. The Industrial Revolution began in Great Britain after the Principia by Isaac Newton was published. New technologies, established or applied based on scientific knowledge, dramatically changed human society. The invention of the steam locomotive enabled transportation of goods by railway. The invention of cars and airplanes enabled us to travel long distances easily. Human society entered the age of never-before-seen abundance. However, war occurred incessantly. Sometimes, irreversible tragedy was caused by the misapplication of scientific knowledge.
Another important revolution that is started by humans is what we call the information revolution. So here the clip will show us what this revolution is.
The information revolution arose following the invention of computers. It enabled human beings to explore the universe, as was symbolized by the Apollo program. And the invention of the internet led to a new era in which people across the world can connect with each other in an instant. Out of contrition over past wars, the birth of a unified world nation is coming to be realized. In 1993, the EU was formed as a unified state in Europe, where wars had recurred most frequently. In other areas, similar federations have been emerging, bringing us closer to the birth of a unified world nation.
Now, the story of humans hasn't ended yet. Now, let us look at the current moment. And here you will see in the image that the humans existed barely less than a percent of the entire history of the Earth, barely 200,000 years compared to the existence of other species. For example, the prokaryotes have been on the Earth for 4 billion years. The eukaryotes have been here for 2 billion years. And the species of the Cambrian explosion have been existing on the Earth for 500 million years. But although the humans existed only 200,000 years, our footprint or our impact and influence on the environment has been greater compared with the other species. Why? We erect cities, we trim forests, and alter the environment. In fact, 75% of land outside of the ice sheets are managed by humans. Because of our massive human footprint, scientists are proposing that we are entering a new epoch that they call Anthropocene, or the Humanozoic era. So here you will see the human footprint increasing from the year 1750 with barely zero point 0.8 billion people on Earth, and now in 2000, we have a population of 6.1 billion. By this year, we are already about 7.6 plus billion people on Earth, and that is the human footprint. As humans, we are changing the land. So as population increase, we will also require an increase in food production. So in the year 1800s, we only required 1 billion hectares for food production. But this time, because of the increase in population, we now require 5 billion hectares, or that is about 40% of the land required to feed all of humans. And approximately 15% of land is protected as they are recognized for ecological value. But currently, our extinction rates are 100 to 1,000 times above normal. So forest cover is about 30% of the earth, but now 80% of that forest cover is already lost due to human footprint. Approximately 15% of our land is protected. And currently, 70% of our land surface is experiencing human pressures. So we are entering at a stage that we are calling the ecological crisis, which is the devastation and destruction of the earth, our own planet. Thomas Berry coined the phrase Ecozoic era, a period of time when all forms of life have a home and the earth is full of life. Eco, which means home, is the earth, our common home. Zoa or zo, which means life, and ik, which means era or period. And in Laudato Si, Pope Francis continues to invite us to hear the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor. So that ends my presentation on the new story of creation. And I will now invite Sister Grace to lead us in our sharing and discussion. Sister Grace.
Thank you for the comprehensive presentation of the second phase of the creation of the universe. Perhaps first, before we break you up into small groups, are there any questions or any clarifications you would like Father Kurt or myself to make before you go into your small groups? Anyone?
Sister, are you going to give us a question?
Yes, I will give you the questions. But before the questions, any clarifications you want to ask before we break you up into your small groups? If not, then we can proceed. Father, you break us up into
Before
the two questions.
here is the
Sorry.
questions.
The two questions are, how do you feel listening to how life evolves? How each step of the evolutionary process, and that we human beings, we come out right from the beginning, from the stars, right? So that means it took the Creator 13.7 billion years to form us, to form the human beings, which is the youngest species of creation. Then the other question is, maybe this is not new for you. Maybe some of you already know this, no? But if for those of you, if this is new for you, what is new for you? And how does this new knowledge affect your understanding of what is the role of the human person in God's creation? Do we have a role, right, in relation to the whole of creation? And what is our role? And maybe this is the root of why we have the problem that we have today. Maybe we human beings, we forget or we do not know what is our role of creation. And so we live our life as we like, or according to not God's word, but other words, either the word of our society, the word of the media, or the word of the economy. And we live according to that word, and that is how it has brought creation to where it is today. So if you can, with your handphone, if you can take a photograph of these questions, and then you get into your small groups and you just share. But if these two questions are not relevant for you, there's something else you want to share, feel free. And it'd be very good if in each group you appoint somebody who will report when we come back after 10 minutes. Okay.
Okay, thank you, sister. Now I will break the group. We are 20 participants, so I'll break you into three to four, uh, 3 to 4 each group. So, okay. Uh, So when you find a button just says join, just click on the join and you will be part of the breakout groups.
Father Kurt,
Yes, sister?
Celia and Glynis they have left. So can
Oh,
you don't include them in the group? Otherwise, yeah.
okay. Okay, sister.
Mhm.
Even make me for exception for me, since
Yeah.
I may have out anytime.
Okay, okay. It's okay. I'll just add you in a room and then you can join. Okay. Okay. So there'll be 5 rooms. Okay, just join your groups and you can begin with your sharing. Okay, welcome back to everyone. I hope you had a good and insightful group sharing. Let's wait for the others to return to the bigger group. So as we have indicated to everyone, if there is one from every group to share, no, briefly what you have shared among yourselves to the bigger group, so we can also hear what you have shared. Um, Sister Grace, are you with us? So if I may invite uh, one from each group, may I call on group one, or anyone would like to volunteer?
Okay, I would like to share from group 4.
Okay, hello, Sister Rosa.
Rosalind.
Rosalind, okay.
Yes. So in our group, basically, we shared that we are the tiniest in the creation and the youngest is about 200,000 years.
Hmm.
But we think the creation is belong to us. So we tend to use as we like and we are trying to destroy the universe. So we are not the owner. That's what our group we shared, and also we are in the interdependency. So which is God created the world, and He's allowing us to use, and we have to really respect, and we need to use it in a harmonious way so that we will not destroy the whatever that is given to us, that we would must know how to make use of it, and to have a constant awareness that we are not the owner and we are codependent. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Rosalind. May I invite from the other groups to share to us?
So I can do a brief, I will do a concise report of the things that we shared in our group. And we were saying that this was really amazing to listen again, no, to how to the creation. That sometimes we just think we are not even, we are not conscious about it, that how the creation started, and it took many billion years ago, and human beings, we just came as the last, and but we are not the, it seems that we are like what the sister said, we are not carrying it the way God wanted it. And one of us said that really to see how the universe evolved, you can feel that really God is with us, present with us. And one was saying that really we have heard of many stories, no, but to listen again to this one, really it reminds us that what the role of the science, because they were saying if we cannot care ecology, if we don't understand very well it we could not understand it in the scientific point of view, so how can we create it, how can we care ecology, how can we create the environment if we don't know our roots now. And also some of us related it with the present situation, that really with this pandemic, it is not something that God is telling us what we should do, and he permitted it to happen, because by force we reduce our waste, we don't take planes, so we are at least the environment is breathing now because people are not overusing it. And you know, when we were the very last creation that came in the universe, but we were the one who wasted it because of the industrialization, and we were the one who devastated the planet. And so as individuals, we have this big responsibility in putting back, I forgot the term. They said that we put into question ourselves on how we are, how on our way of life. I think in Is it okay, Sister Christita? Yeah. In
Okay.
brief.
I mean, the last one said about lifestyle. Am I supporting companies that devastate the earth? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vivian and Sister Chris. Anybody else from the other groups? Sisters Martina,
Yes,
would you like to share?
yes, Father. From our group sharing, we reflected that like that we are part of creation and connect with one another and connect with everything. So it's our responsibility to protect and care, not only for our environment but for the animals also. So it's a kind of a reminder for us, a challenge for us, challenge that to take more responsibilities to take care of the creation of God and a feeling of gratitude to God. This the creation that God gives us is for our good, our benefit, but it, that uh, it took a long time to create the one species, but took us a short time to destroy the creation, even though we are the youngest species. But we took only a short time to destroy it. So it's a good reminder for us again, and it's also the time for us how we are going to cooperate with one another to take care of our Mother Earth, to care of the crying of the Mother Earth and the crying of the poor. So this is our group discussions and reflection. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Martina.
Yes.
Anyone else? Sister Ellie?
Yeah,
Okay, please.
I am from room 1 and I think Jen has left. We shared that through your presentation, some of us realized that life is really a mystery because the smallest organism in the water, which has no form, but they have life, they move. And Sister Chris can see that like it's like the way we were in our mother's womb, we were formed, and later we evolved, and at last we come to be a human being. So it's really a joy, and we have a sense of gratitude to see this mystery. And then we also realized that one new thing that I learned that is, the Mother Earth already give 80% of herself to feed us, to give us life. So how fast and how big is that human being move, think, communicate, but it's only 20% left for the Mother Earth, but only few of us are taking care of that. Most of us are exploiting still. So this is really a call for us to really put an effort to take care of the Mother Earth. It is really an urgent thing because of our exploitation of the Mother Earth. We are really suffering the consequences. And then we also realized that the relationship between the mental health of a human person and creation, it has a strong connection between the two, because we experience loneliness, we experience depression, but we also realize that whenever we experience these things, when we expose ourselves to the garden, to the nature, when to contemplate on the sounds of the birds, uh, the moving butterflies, this really helps us um, to improve our mental wellness, no, our wellness. So this is really it's amazing thing, but at the same time, it calls us to put more effort to take care of the Mother Earth, and also to 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 encourage other people to do the same, because it's very important. And then it's really a funny thing that make me really happy, because I said, oh, there are too many people in the world. And when I listened to your presentation, I was very happy that I decided not to create some more people to the religious life. I was really highly satisfied with my choice. That's a joke. I mean, it makes me really smile. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Ellie. Okay, have we heard from the other groups? Are there still others who wants to share? We've heard a lot from our sisters, no? Maybe we can listen to our brothers also. Saya Ong or Puya, would you like to speak? Huh? Puya or Saya Ong? We'd like to hear from you also. Yes, yeah.
In small group, I discuss about God creation is not over. He create day by day. That's all.
Thank you. So creation is never ending. It's a continuing action of God's love, no? Correct. Puya?
Actually, I have sent a group. Since I think when the creation story, God was said that it's very good, right? We love is the world. So sometimes we might say that we have grown this thing, this thing. But then I think he as Autel said, that his creation never finished. He still loved the world, so he trying to renew it all the time. So in this moment also, he was trying to renew the world because he loved this world, and then all the people, all the things that he created in this world. So I think that yeah, I was agreeing that Christian may not never finish.
Okay. Thank you, Puya. Before I ask Sister Grace to summarize our sharings, would anyone would like to speak or share some of her thoughts before Sister Grace concludes the group's sharing? No one?
Just a few words, Father Kurt. With the whole presentations you gave this morning, in the beginning and the video clips, it was very clear. The universe was a way of God's communicating. It's beautiful. It's all full of life. And then suddenly, when no, it's not suddenly. Gradually, when humanity arrived, then the course of life. Very sad, unfortunately, very sad that because of the human activity, everything changed. And now we're still part of the consequences of those human activities. And it seems the priority is progress in that term, but it's not really progress. It is exploiting and devastating the Mother Earth. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Chris. Anyone else before we ask Sister Grace? Okay. I think Sister Grace. Okay. Okay. Yes. Vivian.
No, for me, because I would just like to say, I would like to see things also now to be more optimistic. Optimistic in the sense that if I see all these devastations and all the people who are doing, I don't know, politicians or whatsoever, that we think that they're not doing good for the ecology, it makes me so depressed. So my attitude would be like, I would like to be very optimistic and doing also, and my way of life to give example if possible. Yeah, that's
Okay. Thank you, Vivian. Sister Grace.
Thank you,
Okay.
Father Kurt.
You're welcome. Sister.
And thank you to all of you for your very fruitful sharing. A lot of wisdom also. So to sum up, I just would like to say that, as Vivian said, to be optimistic is, since we have the power to destroy Mother Earth, we also now have the power to restore Mother Earth. And not just ourselves. So today you see that if we really live in such a way that is in relationship with Mother Earth, respecting all of creation, not only the human have human rights, not only the children have rights or the women have rights, right? The animals also have rights, animal rights. The air also have their rights. The water also have the rights, the eco rights. So if we live in this way, respecting that every part of creation has the rights, then this will give us the right disposition, the right attitude to restore the earth. We have to really get to the roots, not just the actions, but really get to the roots, the consciousness, to see ourselves. How do we see ourselves in relation to all of creation? We are not the center. Christ is the center. And we are together with a part of creation, and we are not apart from the rest of creation. We are a part of the creation. In fact, we come out. We are the universe. We are the human form of the universe. Or we are the microcosm of the universe, which is a macrocosm. And then if you look at our structure of our body, it's the same like the earth. 3/4 of the earth is water. 3/4 of our body is water. The river, the earth has the rivers that flows. We have our its own consciousness. We are the universe that is aware of itself, aware of its beauty, aware of its, and this is what St. Paul says, whole of creation is groaning, waiting for the birth of the children of God. Children of God who will realize that I am related to the universe, the whole of creation. Whole of creation is waiting for me so that the whole of creation can give glory and praise to its creator. Until the emergence of human beings, the mountains, the trees, the sunrise, the sunset, they cannot be aware of themselves, aware of their own beauty, aware of their own grandeur. So they cannot by themselves give glory and praise to their creator. But when we come into being, like when you see a rose, and then you say, so beautiful. Who is saying, so beautiful? We think it's we human beings. No. If we are in relationship with nature, right, then we stop, and the roles in us, we are the space in which creation can feel its own beauty, its own grandeur, and then through us give praise to Creator. That's why in the Psalms, when we praise the Psalms and we say, mountains and hills bless the Lord, seas and rivers bless the Lord. We just say like that, no? That prayer is nothing, no? But if we are aware of the mountains, aware of the seas, aware of the hills, there is that awareness. That means
Hello, sister. Your audio is
can you hear me?
okay. Okay.
So when we pray, mountains and hills bless the Lord. And within us, we have the awareness of the mountains, the beauty of the mountains, the rivers. That means we are giving the mountains, the rivers, that space to feel its own beauty, its own grandeur, and to connect with its creator. That's the kind of human beings the rest of creation wants us to be. Like St. Francis. Not only Francis, but all of us are called to be that. But many of us, we're not aware. No? We're not aware of the sunset. We're not aware of the flowers that we walk, we pass. They're not aware. That means we are failing in our role as human beings. That is what the whole of creation is waiting for us to be, the space in which it can give thanks and praise to the Creator. And when we live like that, then we will not want to destroy. No? Okay. So what is sin then in today's context? Sin is when we do not live in relation with a creation. When we pollute the water, we pollute the rivers, that's sin. When we use more than what we need, that's sin. When we, when we pull down the forests and then we destroy the habitat of the animals and all the other creatures, that's sin. So today, sin has, in today's context, and one of you said, when you are depressed, you go to walk in the garden, then you feel much better. Yes, what is it? No? Because creation, they are all the word of God, expression of God. So it's God's presence. And our God, our Creator, is so rich, so that God needs all the varieties of different roses, varieties of different trees, varieties of different butterflies. It shows the richness of God. When we kill the species, that means we are killing all these that will help us. We will kill our spiritual life. So the future generations, if they cannot see the beauty of the world, what kind of spiritual life will they have? It means we are taking away from them all these reflections of who God is. So, and yes, I think Pia and another brother was sharing about the creation is not finished, it's ongoing, but it will have an omega point. It will have a finish point. Right? It will have a Sunday, the rest day, the Sabbath day. So this is where the creation is moving. It's moving towards this point, omega point. And so we ask ourselves, where is creation taking place now? In John 1, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. And from all things were created from this Word. And if we connect this with the science, in the beginning was the Big Bang. The Big Bang is actually the word of God. God spoke. God spoke. And there was light. God spoke. And there was a sun. God spoke and there was the earth. So all of creation is the word of God. And when God is creating that part, right, it's effortless.
Sister, your audio is. Hello? We can't hear you, sister. Hello?
Cannot.
Oh, now it's coming.
Can?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So the wisdom is to see where is the word of God working now? Where is God creating? Right? So the final species, human beings, has already been created. But now it is in the consciousness.
Oh. You are lost again, sister. Your audio is missing, sister. Nothing, sister. Yeah. Please try.
Can you hear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can hear now.
Yeah. So the word of God is the creation is now taking place in the consciousness. That means if our mind is open, open and we put on the mind and heart of Jesus, Christ consciousness. And what is Christ consciousness? Today we see there's a lot of strife, tribalism, war between racism, sexism. But Christ, the consciousness is is one. Everything is one. So how to have that kind of a mind where we see another human being, not in terms of his nationality, not in terms of his sex, not in terms of his economic status, but another human being as our fellow brother and sister. How do we see, and not just the human beings, other species? They all come out from Mother Earth. So the animals are also our brothers and sisters. The sun, the moon, they are also our relatives. And that's how Francis got that consciousness. Yeah. So if we have this consciousness, then we will not be destroying, we will not be using, we will not be consuming. No? We will be respecting, we will be loving. And then that is when the restoration of God's creation can take place. And I agree with Vivian, right, to have the optimism, because even though in the midst of all the evil, all the destruction, we know that in the end, Christ will triumph. The good will triumph, and the beauty will be restored, the truth and the goodness of creation. Thank you.
Thank you, sister, for that very insightful summary, of our sharings. So now we have a time to share, what possible actions, we can do after learning or after relearning the new story of creation. From the last previous meetings, we have listed out some possible actions. I sent this email together, I think, with the invitation to this meeting, where we put there like practicing lifestyle change, practicing the 3 R's, and then advocating for care for the earth. So from the group, do you have any suggestions, no, that you would like us to do personally or in our own communities that you are already doing or wants to share to the rest of the group? One action we have taken is this coming October 4, we will do the ecumenical prayer service, no? Where different groups and individuals will be invited to share in a common prayer for the season of creation. So that will be in October 4. So some of us are involved already in the preparations. There will be a meeting, preparatory meeting this coming Saturday. So for those who are interested to join in the preparations, you are welcome, no, to participate. Other than the ecumenical prayer service, do you have any other suggestions or comments? Something that arise from Sister Grace also's reflection, no?
Can I add that I think what will be helpful is it's not that we are going to do something extra, no? It's just to take where we are, whatever we are doing, and then to give back, to give the ecological consciousness. So supposing we are doing education, so how as educators, no? How do we promote this education ecological consciousness, right? If I'm a nurse, how do I, right? With this as a backdrop, how do I, that means we do not do something outside, we do what we are doing. As a religious, right? What does it mean, no? My eco-spirituality, right? That as a nurse, right? So how do I use, how do I practice my healing in tune with nature? And nature itself also, what are nature's healing plants? You know, how do I bring about a natural way of healing? And we know that the pharmacies, the drugs, all that is also part of, it's also not, it's also destructive. So as whatever profession, how do I live out my profession with this ecological consciousness?
Hello, can I say something?
Yes.
Sure.
For me, the very practical thing I started while I'm still under lockdown here in Manila. I cannot go back to Myanmar yet since I was supposed to fly back in May, but I am still here. So what I've started was to do organic garden. That is for me, that's very practical way to collaborate in Laudato Si, and also finishing the Laudato Si animators course. I, the practical way that I could do is to get in touch with my students in Myanmar through Zoom, and I will continue to teach English conversation with them. And my plan is to help them be aware of their environment. What I learned here perhaps in the Philippines that I will be starting with in whatever I'll be doing in the coming days was I cannot do any concrete act if I don't recognize that there's something wrong around me. If I will always say we're all right, then I cannot do anything. That's why for me, what's a striking experience is to recognize something is wrong. Something is not going well in accordance with how God created the world, the universe. That's why in my own little way, I will do, okay, I cannot do a lot. I cannot do everything, but in my own lifestyle, I will make an attempt every day. So first is that one to work in the garden, touch the earth. And second one is to reach out to my students across Myanmar. I am here in Manila, and hopefully I will be able to animate them to converse about what's happening around you. Hopefully, when they will recognize what's happening in their environment, then the fruit of the discussion is what can we do together across countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister
Thank you.
Chris. Okay, we still have around 5 minutes before we close our sharing. No, anybody else would like to share? Yes, Sister Ellie.
For those or for some of us who are in quarantine, in the lockdown, like Sister Christine said, when I was in the Philippines also, it's like that. When you cannot go out, you have to find some way to respond to this challenge. So I think all of us are consuming plastic every day. I am always thinking of that. I learned from my sisters, the Good Shepherd sisters in Manila, from the infirmary. There are many elderly. They collect all the plastics that we use in the whole compound. They wash it, and then they make eco brick. They cut it into pieces and put in the Coca-Cola bottles. They make it very, very nice. And then later there are NGOs who collect this plastic eco brick to make it into eco brick. So that one, sometimes if we have nothing to do, we get depressed, we have a lot of things to do, but if we don't have any land or place to make a garden, we still have something that we can do to help the creation. I am very happy to be here from quarantine. I can go to the small garden in front of me. I become more alive. So I think for those of some of us who don't have any, cannot get in touch with the garden, we still have something to do because everybody consumes plastic.